Hi guys, it's Samir from MMOs.com, and I'm doing another quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news, and now it's just the week ending August 8th, 2016. This is episode number 55 of the recap, and the first bit of news this week comes from writers of Icarus. Nexon announced another major update for the game, which is set to launch later this month, which will add the PvP zone, Exar, and Badlands, as well as the Guild Alliance War system. The PvP area will only be available to players level 28 or higher, and players with Guild rank 3 or higher can form alliances and declare war on other alliances. That they will also add a weekly PvP event called Mana Stone Battles to the game as well. This update comes less than a month after the Blight of Frostkeep update, which increased the game's level cap to 35, so Nexon is on the ball with rolling these updates out. But keep in mind, the current version of the game only has level cap of 35, while the Korean game is past 60, so there's still a lot of catching up to do with the content updates, and no word on exactly when this PvP update is set to launch. All we know is later this month. The game is still doing quite well on Steam too, hitting about 7,500 users during peak hours, which is quite impressive. Next up, some controversial news from Kakao Games regarding Black Desert Online. BDO is set to allow Pearl items to be traded on the in-game marketplace, which has led to countless players protesting the move, calling it pay to win, as players will be able to spend cash on Pearl items and flip them in the marketplace for silver, essentially allowing players to indirectly buy as much silver as they want with cash. Players protesting this move do have a valid complaint, as it does allow players to indirectly pay for power, as in-game currency leads to better gear and upgraded equipment. This move is extremely controversial because the game launched with a buy-to-play model, so they can avoid situations like this and keep things completely fair. On the flip side, the new system will allow players to get cash shop items with in-game silver, giving players who don't want to pay cash for pearls a shot at getting these items. Still, there's a lot of controversy here, and we'll be talking more about this in tomorrow's podcast. Moving right along, some pretty big news from Bethesda/ZeniMax Online. Elder Scrolls Legends actually entered open beta this week. For those out of the loop, Elder Scrolls Legends is an Elder Scrolls themed online collectible card game which features story, PvE, and PvP game modes. The game differs from other CCGs in that it features 2 lanes and a larger 50 card deck, as well as a rune system. It looks similar to Magic the Gathering, but I haven't played it yet myself, so I'm not entirely sure. I expect a first look for it relatively soon. But it looks like everybody's entering the collectible card game arena since Hearthstone really got the ball rolling on it. Next, some World of Warcraft Legion news. In a developer preview that came out earlier this week, Blizzard explained how leveling will work in Legion's Broken Isles. Unlike previous expansions which were made for specific level sets, players don't have to worry about their level in comparison to the zones while in the Broken Isles, as each of the 4 zones in this area dynamically scale to your level, giving players the freedom to explore this mysterious new domain as they see fit, which sounds great because it won't be linear like other zones in WoW. I like to see more MMOs do this. Dynamically scaling your level to the zone you're in is actually quite fun. Guild Wars 2 has been doing an awesome job with this for quite a while, and I think it works really well. Moving right along, perhaps the demise of WildStar has been exaggerated. The game is launching the Redmoon Rises update on August 17th, which brings with it an all-new raid, the Redmoon Terror. The update will be followed by the Redmoon Mutiny update soon afterwards. Despite the steady slew of content updates since its launch on Steam, WildStar still seems to be losing players. The game is averaging about 750 or so players online at any given time, which is still pretty good, as most veteran players are still playing the game outside of Steam. Still, the numbers don't look great, and unless the player base increases, I expect the game will still be shutting down within the next year or 2, but time will tell. But definitely props to Carbine and NCSoft for still releasing content updates for the game. Next up, Revelation Online reveals information about its player housing system. Once you hit level 40 in the game, you can purchase an apartment in the inn on the back of a giant turtle. Yes, you heard that correctly. The first floor of the inn is a lounge where you can hang out with other apartment owners rather, and the other floors hold instance apartments. It can be decorated with one of 2 themes and over 160 types of different furniture. Players can share their houses with up to 5 friends by giving them keys to their home. The housing system won't be available at launch though, as My.com stated that it will go live soon after the game goes into open beta. While the system isn't anything revolutionary, I personally like when games offer some form of player housing, even if it's a small aspect of the game. Closed beta for Revelation Online is set to begin in fall of 2016, so later this year, and open beta should follow shortly afterwards. So all of this should be happening probably pretty soon. Up next, some news about Transformers Online. Not much was known about the game when it was first announced at China Joy a week or so ago, but now we know a bit more about the game as it quietly went into closed beta in China. The game seems to resemble Overwatch to a degree, as it's a character-based first-person shooter. Given that the game is based on the Transformers franchise, every character can also transform into a vehicle to get around the map faster and even use some abilities in vehicle mode. The game also features a spark system which is similar to League of Legends' rune system, so they're focusing more on character customization, at least a bit more so than Overwatch. On a side note, a mobile version of the game is also in the works, which will be releasing sometime in 2017. Unfortunately though, it's kind of hard for me to get excited about this game because it hasn't been announced for a Western release just yet. I expect though if it does well in China, it'll come to the West at some point because Transformers is a pretty big franchise over here as well. Next up, in mass is surveying Tera players about a console port of the game. We mentioned a couple weeks ago that Bluehole Studios, the developer behind Tera, was hiring staff for a Tera console port. So it looks like they're likely seriously considering porting the game to consoles. No definitive word on whether this is actually happening or not though, but the survey, along with the word that they hired some console programmers, makes it more than likely they're at least seriously considering it. Also in Tera news, EU servers for the game are undergoing mergers. Server mergers are really good news, but they're necessary to keep servers lively, as no one wants to play on an empty server. The US version of the game is still going quite strong, as it's averaging a bit over 2,500 users on Steam, while the EU version through GameForge is doing much worse. It's only hitting about 415, which is probably why the server mergers are happening in the EU version. The EU version of the game will merge down to 4 total servers on August 30th. The NA servers are still doing well though. Player base is still down from peak, but it's holding its own. Well, moving right along, Trinium Wars announced this week that Rift's latest expansion, Starfall Prophecy, will be launching later in the fall. The expansion will be increasing the game's level cap to 70 and adding 5 massive new zones, as well as 2 new dungeons, a new raid, and 2 new types of content, Fortress Sieges and Rift Assault Adventures to Rift. It's a massive update to the game, and despite being a free-to-play title, the Starfall Prophecy update will cost $39.99. A deluxe edition of the game will also be available with some in-game goodies. It'll cost $59.99. Next up, yet another major franchise in the MMO scene is going mobile. Vindictus, also known as Mabinogi Heroes in Asia, is heading to mobile as Vindictus Eternal. Not too much to know about the game. It looks kind of like hit Heroes of Incredible Tales, but beyond just what we're seeing right now, there's really not too much about the game. No word on a Western release date, if there's ever going to be one even, but it just follows a trend of other major games going mobile. We saw Legend of Mirror doing it, and just countless other games are going mobile, and expect that trend to continue into the near future, and into the long future too. Up next, we have Ragnarok Clicker. It's a real, actual game you can play right now. All roads lead to Ragnarok, as we always say in the podcast. So basically, Ragnarok Clicker is basically just another Clicker game. It's developed by Playosaurus, the same guys behind Clicker Heroes. In fact, Ragnarok Clicker is just a reskin version of Clicker Heroes. So if you like these Clicker games, check it out. It's not really an MMO, but it's worth mentioning because it's based on a popular MMO franchise. And it's got Ragnarok, so I actually downloaded it myself, and I leave it running in the background once in a while. But yeah, Ragnarok Clicker is out. If you want to check it out, it's free on Steam. Moving right along, some pretty obvious news. This time it's Trinium Wars. The game is shutting down on August 31st, and I say it's obvious because the game didn't look like it had a chance from when it launched. It's been less than 5 months since Trinium Wars initially went into early access, and less than 3 months since it went free to play, but the game is shutting down on August 31st. It'll be running until then, but after that, it'll be gone for good. The game never accrued enough players to make its 1,000-player Resource War PvP mode even worthwhile. In fact, that's one complaint I had about the game when I first hopped in for my first look video. Just not enough people played the game. And it's just because the game just felt super dated the day it launched. It was a really old game, just kind of got delayed and revamped and worked on and finally launched, and it just couldn't make it. Rest in pepperoni, Trinium Wars. Next up, South Korean game Chronoblade is set to launch globally, and Netmarble will be publishing it. Netmarble is the same company behind Marvel Future Fight, Seven Knights, and several other mobile games. Chronoblade launched in Korea last year, and it'll be launching globally in English sometime later this year. The emphasis on mobile should be continuing into the near future and forward. Mobile is going to be bigger and bigger. The game features stage-based PvE modes, so kind of like Hero Wars, as well as real-time PvP. The next and last bit of news this week comes from Snail Games regarding Age of Wushu 2 and Dark and Light. Both games were unveiled at China Joy last week, but not much information was available for them. Now we do know that both games will be launching on Steam and may even be buy-to-play at launch. That's worth mentioning because it would be a step away from the free-to-play model that Snail Games has long embraced. However, no word on a release date for the games. First testing for Light and Dark as well as Age of Wushu 2 is set to begin in early 2017 and will be in China only. Given that Snail Games did launch Age of Wushu in the West, I suspect Age of Wushu 2 will make its way over here too. Unfortunately, both games are still a while away. And it'll also be powered by Unreal Engine 4, so it'll have really pretty graphics. Even though Dark and Light and Age of Wushu 2 are both Chinese games, those are a fairly bigger budget game. So even though mobile is kind of taking over the world, just client-based games are not dead yet. PC is not dead yet, so that's definitely good to hear. Anyway, guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys next week, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later, guys.